Today on Pro Church Daily, we're talking about how to reach people when you're a church of 50 or less.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Daily, the show where in 10 minutes or less, you'll get your daily dose of tips and tactics to help your church share the message of Jesus while we navigate the biggest communication shift we've seen in the last 500 years. I'm your host, Alex Mills. I'm joined, as always, by the boss man. It's Brady Shearer. And today, we're talking about how you can reach people when you're a church of 50 people or less.
I got a question the other day through a DM on Instagram, and it really made me think, and I want to read it out loud. It says, hey, any advice that you can give to help us start reaching more people? We're a very small church, 50 people or less. Most are older than 40 years old. I'm trying to get young people to come to our church, so any advice would be great. And it got me thinking about, okay, if I was in the position of this individual and I was attending a church of 50 or less, most are older, what would I do to reach more people in my community? And really the thoughts just started flowing from there, so I want to dive right in. And the first thing that I wanted to say is that much like anything in life, and this applies directly to your church if you're 50 or less, 500 or less, 5,000 or less, and whatever you're trying to do, if you want to get somewhere that you've never been, you need to be willing to do things that you've never done.
I love that.
And so that is the thought exercise, really the perspective shift that you need to begin with. Okay, we want to grow. We want to reach people. Great. You're starting with a goal. That's super important. Most people aren't even willing to jump to there because if we set a goal, it means we could fail. That's embarrassing. I'd just rather stay with the status quo. So props for stepping beyond that and saying, we want to grow and reach people. The next step to making that a reality is to say, okay, look, clearly, what we've been doing so far hasn't enabled us to accomplish this goal. So we need to start doing things that are unfamiliar, probably uncomfortable, and definitely unusual compared to what we've been doing thus far if we want to accomplish that goal. So from there, I think it's important to analyze your situation as a church. And again, it's easy at this point to put yourself in like a really, really sad state. Be like, we're a church of 50 or less. We're below the continental average. What are we doing wrong? I think it's important, yes, to acknowledge your disadvantages, but also to recognize the advantages that you have as a smaller church. So the first disadvantage is obvious. If you're a church of 50 or less, you likely have less volunteer and monetary resources compared to a church that's twice your size, 10 times your size.
Right.
But what advantages do you have of a church, being a church that's 50 or less, that a larger church doesn't? For instance, I go to a church that's a couple thousand people, and I'm very close with some of the leadership. And a lot of the times, we end up talking about, man, how hard is it to change things when you have to turn around a giant boat with 2,000 people on it?
Yeah.
The metaphor that we use is it's like we're driving a Titanic or a cruise ship. And turning it around takes a really long time, and the turn has to be so subtle because it's such a big object. Whereas if you're a church of 50 or less, you're basically in a little speedboat.
Yeah.
You can make turns real fast because you're so much smaller. That is a huge advantage.
For sure.
And you need to recognize that and celebrate it. Another huge advantage of this is that because you're so small, any success that you do see is going to move the needle forward in such a big way.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're a church of 500, to double in size, 500 more people, that's a huge growth step. If you're 50 to double in size, just getting 50 people, that's so much easier. Even if you get 5 people, that would be a 10% growth.
Yeah.
You know how many churches would love for 10% growth?
Right.
Start somewhere small. 5 people, that's super attainable. So recognize the advantages and disadvantages and celebrate the advantages because they do exist,
Absolutely.
even if you don't perceive them to be there. Next step, set your expectations. What you don't want, as much as you might think you do, is you do not want to double the size of your church overnight.
No.
If you are a church of 50 people, if suddenly within the next month you had 100 people, it's very likely that you wouldn't have the infrastructure ready to absorb that amount of growth, and you'd end up maybe even in a net negative over the next couple of months as people weren't properly taken care of, as things happened that you weren't expecting and you weren't prepared for that growth. It's like if I go into the gym and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get a personal best today. And then I pick up a weight that's twice as much as I've ever lifted.
Yeah.
One, I'm risking myself for injury. And
Right.
two, it's like not even possible. It's like not even something that's actually realistic. So set your expectations reasonably. There's that great adage for setting goals, and the acronym is SMART. It's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-centric.
Right.
So make it realistic. And from there, what you want to do is set a clear goal. I said earlier that taking that step of wanting to grow is really big. That's great. How measurable and specific can you make the goal? So for instance, you could have a goal for 2018 being like, We want to reach more people. Now, not good enough. What is actually much better would be to set the goal of, okay, in the year of 2018, we want 25 new people to come through our front doors on a Sunday morning. So that would be one very specific, 25.
Yep.
It would be measurable. You could track if 25 new people came, especially in a church of 50, it would be very noticeable.
Yep.
It's attainable. Sure, maybe it's not, reassess that for your own. Maybe starting with 5 new people is more attainable. And again, 10% growth is huge, and most churches would love that.
Right.
Realistic. And finally, time-centric. By the way, if I'm butchering this acronym, I feel like I'm getting most of the letters right.
I think you're fine.
I think it's most important. Time-centric. This is one that a lot of people don't do. Set a deadline. The second you put something on a deadline, it's that much more likely for it to happen.
For sure.
This is why we set launch dates for our products. We say, okay, on this day, we're opening up. All right, developers, make sure that you get it done by then.
Yeah.
Suddenly, things go a lot faster, it seems sometimes, because there's a deadline that now we know we need to hit. So set that clear goal. Now, once we've done all this, right, we've recognized our advantages and disadvantages. We've hopefully had that perspective shift, understanding that we need to do things we've never done to get somewhere that we've never been. We've set a clear goal. From there, now it's time to run as many acquisition experiments as you possibly can. Again, the advantage of being a small church, you can move quickly.
Yeah.
You want to try as many things as you possibly can within the year, because it's very likely, if you haven't seen success up until this point, you've likely either been unwilling to try at risk of failure, or you just aren't sure about this part of running a church. And that's okay. Running a church is hard. Leading a business, running an organization is very difficult. There's so many things you need to consider. So if you're not huge on the acquisition, marketing, outreach side of things, that's okay. One way to improve, try your hand at everything.
Yeah.
It's like if you've never had Indian food and I can only think of one type of cuisine, Mexican food, and you've never been to this restaurant and this restaurant and this restaurant, and you're like, yeah, I really only like eating spaghetti and meatballs every day. What you need to do is, well, you can really put yourself in two positions. One, the only good food on earth is spaghetti and meatballs. It's probably not true. You just haven't tried enough things.
Right.
Try as much as you possibly can. What's likely to happen is you're going to stumble upon something that works, and then once you have something that works, double down on that. But I could sit here and say, okay, Facebook ads is the right thing to do. I could say run big community events. I could say do Google AdWords so people are searching for churches in your area. You show up first because you're paying to show up. Yeah. There's so many different things that you could do, but I don't know your unique situation for this individual and for everyone else that's listening. And the best thing that you can do, being the size that you are, run as many possible experiments as you possibly can. Get the church and the senior leadership on board with this idea. If we want to go somewhere we've never been, we got to do stuff that we've never done.
Yeah.
And then from there, you want to just bring value to people. At the end of the day, the only reason people are going to be coming to your church is because it's valuable to their life. So you could have conversations with people in your church already. Why do you attend this church? What brings value to you? And also, talk to people that don't come to your church. So you want to reach people that are younger. If your church is mostly older people, the answers that they give you as to how you're bringing value to them likely would be different for someone half their age or a quarter their age. And so try to dial down. Okay, if someone was going to come to our church that was in their 20s or 30s, what would they find valuable? Dial into that. Experiment with that. That's the process that I would work.
That's good.
That'll do it for this episode of Pro Church Daily. We'd love for you to be eligible for all the giveaways we're doing throughout the month of February.
Yeah.
It's all happening on our Instagram account at Brady Shearer on Instagram. That's where all the giveaways are going down. So give a follow to that account, and you could be eligible to win the great stuff that we're giving away. What are we giving away? It's a secret. Not to those that follow on Instagram, they know. So go to @Brady Shearer, give it a follow, watch the stories, engage with the posts, and you can be eligible to win, you and your church. Thanks for watching today's episode of Pro Church Daily. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching today's episode of Pro Church Daily. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another video.
And if you like this video, it would mean the world to us if you give it a thumbs up.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.